Okay then, so let's get to this. The question of whether or not you can drink coffee when you're trying to get pregnant. So there's various reasons, which are valid reasons why you shouldn't drink coffee. So let's get to that first. So essentially, when you're putting something into your body that your body needs to process, then that is extra work that your body needs to do to process that out of your system, rather than using it to run your body naturally, day-to-day, easy processes, which means that there's more strain essentially being put on your body. The more strain there is on your body, the less energy there is to grow a baby, because it's using it all for day-to-day living, okay? So that is, in a nutshell, the logic behind not drinking caffeine. There's lots of other technical scientific reasons about how it flushes the nutrients out of your body, etc. But essentially speaking, it affects your fertility bandwidth. That said, if you drink coffee in moderation, and by this I mean no more than 200 milligrams a day of caffeine, not just coffee, but caffeine a day, about 1 to 2 cups, and I'm talking cups, not massive mugs, okay, then that has been proven with research that it's generally safe, if you're trying to get pregnant, to consume caffeine to that amount, or coffee to that amount with caffeine in it. But what you always need to balance out yourself is, am I actually happy putting that extra load on my body when I'm doing everything I can to get pregnant? If I am, then it's worth it. It's worth putting that extra little bit of strain on. But if you're not, and you really want to go all out, then at that point, don't drink caffeine. Now, does caffeine impact hormone or ovulation? If you have high caffeine consumption, then that can interfere with your hormone balance, particularly your cortisol and your estrogen, okay, because of the way that those two interact together. And cortisol is a stress hormone, and caffeine speeds everything up. It essentially creates a sense of fight or flight, which is why it wakes you up in terms of the way that your body's working. So that can affect your ovulation. So if you're really struggling hard with hormone-related issues, particularly with stress already and with estrogen, then it might just be worth limiting the caffeine. And you can see why there's never one answer. There's never one answer across the board. It just doesn't work like that. Fertility is as unique as your fingerprint. That's why my logo is a fingerprint, because yes, of course, we're generating new life, but also your fertility is as unique as your fingerprint. Now, in terms of male fertility, if we just get to that, and we're looking at a moderate caffeine intake again of 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, then that appears to have minimal impact on your sperm quality when you look at the studies. Some studies show that small amounts of caffeine can be improved to sperm motility, so the speed that that sperm is moving, the vigor of it, if you like, because caffeine speeds everything up. But they're small studies, and it's not to be taken as a carte blanche that you can just go ahead and drink whatever caffeine you want because it's going to help your sperm motility. It's just something to bear in mind in the background. Excessive caffeine can increase oxidative stress. So that is the quality of the structure, the infrastructure of sperm, essentially. Over time, that builds up. And then for sure, sperm takes 72 days to regenerate. So, I mean, obviously that's not exactly for every single person, but, you know, on average, 72 days to regenerate. So there is a way to put that back. But know that if you've been drinking a lot of caffeine over time, then your sperm is probably going to suffer. Now, if you're sensitive to caffeine to start off with, and some people are genetically more sensitive to caffeine, even small amounts may increase your anxiety, they might disrupt your sleep, and then it's going to spike these hormones that we spoke about, your estrogen and your cortisol. So then if you have a natural tendency to be more sensitive to caffeine, then perhaps cut the coffee out altogether and forget the studies that show that 200 milligrams a day is pretty okay. And you can see now how we have to target everything that we're doing. This is just one question. This is just about coffee. We're looking at everything that's coming into your body within the Fertility Bandwidth program. And we're noticing how it affects you as a specific individual. Because what affects you is going to be entirely different. And you can see this now just talking about coffee, to how it affects someone else who's literally sitting next door to you, in theory struggling with the same things, but they might not have this natural sensitivity to caffeine. So everything needs to be bespoke to you. There is no generic advice when it comes to fertility. Now, are certain types of coffee better? If you're opting for organic coffees, what you're doing at that point is avoiding the pesticides that are going in. And we know that pesticides affect your hormones. It throws everything out. Essentially, it's affecting that fertility bandwidth because it's more that your body needs to do that it actually doesn't need to do naturally. It's not built for dealing with pesticides. And so if you take that element out by drinking organic, then you're putting less strain on your body. You're easing up more energy then for your fertility bandwidth because your body's not having to use as much for your day-to-day living. So things like that do make a difference. Same with energy drinks and stuff as well. I mean, let's not even get into that. That's a whole different picture. But yeah, all these hidden additives, if you can take as many of them out, that's even better. Now, can you drink coffee while you're undergoing IVF or fertility treatments? I always say speak to your particular clinic because they will have a different piece of advice. And I don't think it's my place to override what they tell you. I think it's my place to work seamlessly with them. So that said, many fertility specialists will recommend keeping your caffeine to a minimum. They'll even say don't drink it, cut it out, because high caffeine levels reduce the implantation success. So if you have to, because it's creating more stress not drinking it because you've got this caffeine addiction, then just stick to like 1 cup a day if you absolutely have to. But always, you're putting so much into this by looking at IVF in the first place and what it's doing to your body. Do you really want to risk the effectiveness of that because caffeine's disrupting it? And that's a question that only you can answer, but you need to have the information able to be able to answer it properly. Now, some good alternatives to coffee, if there is one, because obviously it's the caffeine that we enjoy. Herbal teas, rooibos is a good one. It's got some really nice antioxidants in there, which are actually boosting for your body. Chicory root coffee, caffeine-free matcha, great options. And they do at least have that similar warmth and comfort when you're drinking them, even though they might not have the coffee, but obviously you're skipping the downsides, so it is always going to be a compromise, I'm afraid. I guess the key takeaway out of this is that if coffee is part of your daily routine, in theory, you don't need to cut it out completely, but you need to keep your intake to moderate. That said, everything's entirely bespoke to you, and the research isn't based on you. So what you really need to do to get the best results out of this is to work with your body, understand what your root cause starting point is, so that then you can work from that and put everything in, take everything out according to what it is that your body needs. That's what I do in the Fertility Bandwidth root cause assessment. So you can get the link to that if you're interested in finding out more in the social links in my bio.